Welcome. This is the season 7 Do It Live Autonomy podcast season finale. We have reached graduation, and last night we hosted the final live lecture with Richard Grove. It was a long one, but one of my favorites. You get to hear from Richard Grove and his story of why he's qualified to be teaching autonomy. We'll talk about more of that in a minute. I hope that you're enjoying your day today as we all come together to do this great recap. I have lots of clips to showcase. We've built a lot of content alongside of the season where the students are learning and going through the material. We are operating on multiple levels. Some of us are teaching, creating content, creating courses for ourselves. And so the audience, the season 7 and the rest of the graduates, they get to participate in those courses. So I'm going to be showing some clips from that tonight. But it's going to be a jam-packed night. I also want to be able to toss the talking stick around and hear from the season 7 graduates and want to know, what was their most challenging times? What was their most, time of growth? Love to hear from each of them. But to kick this all off, wanted to share what we got accomplished. So Autonomy Limited is a marketing agency that I co-own with Richard Grove. We handle Autonomy's building of websites, building of the courses, handling of the management of the courses. And we just got done with a huge job of updating the Autonomy landing page. So before was a landing page that was there, had been there for probably 2 years now, and had gone through a ton of revisions. But we finally got through. Copywriter Kara had been able to go through it, reorganize, simplify it, really make it easy to digest and understand. And so we're very proud of, what this page now represents. When we're talking to our friends and family and trying to describe what, autonomy is, why are we spending all this time, on ourselves and learning through this material? Now we have a place to send them. It's getautonomy.info/ignite. And this can do the talking for us, right? So some aspects of this that I really like are we built in this video player, and
we're going to talk about solutions and relationships and community building. And
you can hear directly from Richard, who goes through and talks about the benefits of autonomy. And, we all like to digest content in multiple different ways now. So now this can play.
I'm going to first ask the question, why don't we have
you scroll and continue to digest this information? So really slick layout, I think, and everything's been updated. I think even if you were familiar with autonomy before, now's a good time to go back over it and to see all that is contained within the course. We got some great new photos, but it's really exciting. New testimonials. Go check it out. getautonomy.info/ignite. Now, this is the campus map for autonomy. This is people were having a hard time grasping what was being taught inside of autonomy. And so we wanted to conceptualize, the University of Reason, which is the whole property, and autonomy is the flagship course within that. So you start up here in the left-hand corner, and in the first weeks, we have an unschooling process. We learn about the history of school. We learn about what school did to us, and the the damage that it did to our adolescence, so that we had a level of impairment when going out and becoming adults and going out into the world. So to couple with that map, we have a course curriculum breakdown. So being able to, shedding your mental anchors, limiting beliefs and false assumptions, adopting and maintaining attitude of gratitude. This is where the unschooling takes place. Next up, we have the productivity department. That's probably week 2, week 3, how your potential has been thwarted, casting aside learned helplessness, transforming fear, breaking out of a scarcity mindset, into abundance. That was a big one for me. I grew up on government cheese, and I dropped out of school as a sophomore, and so I had a bunch of limited thinking as I went into my adult life that I had to re-examine and cast out. Next, after productivity and learning, our unlimited potential, we go over and learn sales. Ethical sales, as I like to say. This is an extremely valuable part of the course. Everybody needs the art of sales because either we're looking for a relationship, we're negotiating with our kids, negotiating with our families. The art of sales is a part of transacting in your reality. So knowing how, giving yourself permission to, practice sales, ethical sales, where there's a fair exchange of value, and being able to own that gets you out of, the thinking that, sales is manipulative, or that you shouldn't, ask for your own self-worth. That was one of my hiccups. It really will open up and unlock your potential. Next up, we have the just effectiveness, being able to really learn anything that we want. We talked about it last night of hyper learning and being able to learn non-linearly. So any direction that our attention goes, any problems that arise, we can just overcome them as we go along. We also learn how to interview, and that is a very powerful tool. Richard demonstrated that, last night in graduation when he discussed his career path and how he was able to get jobs, how he was able to circumvent, the stack of resumes in front of going through the front door of a business. Benefits of interviewing because for podcasts, which in a few later on in the show, we're going to showcase a clip from the new Tom Woods interview that happened inside of Autonomy. And I'll talk about, the kind of back workings of setting up that interview. That was a very powerful tool. Tom Woods uses that regularly with his podcast. So internet marketing is something that we learn in this last section of the course. This is entrepreneurship. This translates into real life and into the digital realm. Large portion of our of how we transact in the world is happening more and more online. So understanding digital marketing, how to position yourself online, is going to get you a lot more traffic than you can acquire in person in a day. So understanding the umbrella of digital marketing and how that can, get you to your goals is what's really important. Then you cross the street here, and this is where Autonomy Unlimited lives, the digital marketing company. So you're going to get a whole bunch of ideas and be able to either, figure out what you want to be doing for a career, where you want to actually be working, what kind of structure you want to be working in. Do you want to become a freelancer? Do you want to have a 9-to-5 job? Or do you have a business idea? Do you already have a business? All of those need a strategy in order to become successful. And that's what Autonomy Unlimited offers, is we get to hook up our Autonomy students in helping them build out their marketing strategy and growth to success. So in here is where everything we learned inside of autonomy, the rubber hits the road. We have graduates that are interning. We have graduates that are freelancing and leading teams. And that's the arena where we actually, take the theories and what we learn inside of autonomy and really be able to embody that information through real-time feedback and gaining experience out in the business and real world. And man, I've been in that arena now for several years. Luckily, have had Richard Grove as my business partner and coaching me along the way. And I can take a pretty good punch and stay on my feet, business wise. And you really start learning rapidly when you have skin in the game and you're growing and developing something of your own. So I'll open it up right now and just get any feedback. Being able to see the campus map and now, some of the Autonomy 7 or Season 7 graduates or previous graduates, how has that experience been beneficial to you?
Well, since it's nice and quiet, I'll jump in real quick.
Hey, Mark.
Joshua. So autonomy was a wonderful, in some cases, refresher, and in other cases, brand new, undiscovered territory for me. Spent a whole lot more time on camera, revisited. I've been using Getting Things Done kind of over time management since the early 90s when I first found out about it. I think it was early, no, it's the beginning of the aughts, the beginning of the 2000s. But I remember passing the workflow, the sheet around to a couple of my clients. I've been was a sole proprietorship and learned about formations of companies and so forth along my journey. Autonomy brings it all together in a high density course. So there's so many things that I had to learn the hard way growing up. I too dropped out of school kind of early, went into college, dropped out of college, was going chasing the magic dollar for a while. But autonomy was a great focus, a great high definition course of a lot of those things I learned and things I missed, a lot of things I missed. Richard covers a lot of excellent territory. I've had a natural gift for sales. He helped bring it even more into the non-cringe, ethical way of we're helping people, we're solving problems and listening and finding out what does the person need, what does the group need? If I'm catering to this organization, what's really going to help them instead of what's in it for me, what's in it for them? So there were a number of key lessons that came out of autonomy. And then the relationships, the friendships, the groups I've joined, the ongoing interaction with the excellent people who are drawn to the program. It's a self-sorted group. So you find yourself amongst incredible, powerful peers. It's when Richard said you go out into the real world and you realize not everybody's operating at this level. And it can be frustrating in running into other folks. And then you start getting a lot more things done. I got a lot more going, a lot more power into my day, my organization and so forth. And then the ongoing research, as well as the structure of support with the peers, there's all the extra classes. I've added, I was originally drawn to the trivium, the whole concept of there's a proper way or a much easier way of learning. There's an organized system for it. And that was a very attractive offer to me. That was what first got me interested in autonomy, was Richard's presentation about the trivium. And I've discovered that, listened to the Gino Denning recordings and Tony Meyer's efforts that he's put together and Gnostic podcasts, and gone off some of the different rabbit holes for that. Hopefully going to tackle the quadrivium next. But Melissa put together a permaculture course that I'm going to present my own version of with her encouragement to my garden group that I'm part of. There's just been outrageous courses that I've been able to partake bits and pieces of, or go through the whole thing, gather a lot more skills, a lot of insights into different people's way of getting things done, seeing what works for me, seeing which parts help, which parts I keep and which parts, no, that's not a good fit for me. That is a good fit. That can make this thing I do so much more powerful. So there's been a whole lot of positiveness and a lot of positive reinforcement. Anytime I'm having problems, I reach out to some of my friends or some of the people in the autonomy group, and there's somebody there to help me out. It's been a wonderful experience.
Awesome, Mark. And what do you do for, what's your business, and how have you grown since joining Autonomy in your business?
Well, I've got multiple businesses. The primary one that puts food on the table is an IT consultancy business. I have about 50 clients total, spread across 2 counties and actually throughout the rest of the United States. I found that when people like what you do, even if they move, they want, if you can do it remote, they'll keep hiring you. So I've got people now that I take care of in Florida and Texas and Colorado, and spread throughout, as well as the 2 primary counties that I lived in. 30 years down in the Santa Cruz County, built up the business there. And now I'm up in Del Norte County, as far north in California as you can get along the coast. And people find out I keep building it, it keeps going. So that's my primary. The secondary businesses are more along the lines of, we've got a real estate business, my wife and I, that we do that for cash flow income. So that's, shout out to Lisa and her group over at Wealth Battle, Case and so forth, that a whole lot of interesting information there tied in with like earlier Rich Dad classes I had taken decades ago. And this all loops back in again. So one of the things that I've admired is Richard's style at presentation and lectures. Also, Melissa Miles, a very natural leader in her classes. That was a very good presentation. She knew her stuff in and out. So both of those people, Richard and Melissa, I'm using as role models for the classes I'm recording. I've got 2 classes under my belt. I'm continuing to go. I built an IT class, still fleshing it out. I've got to build the slides as well, but I've got a live student who's already been paying me. So I've got money flowing into it, and I'm recording classes I hope to eventually launch online to help people build their own businesses, as I have, where you can work from almost anywhere, some of it remote, some of it in person, be your own boss, control your own paycheck, and solve problems for people.
Those are all very attractive businesses. You sound very resilient. You have multiple streams of income. You're developing them so that, not one of them can get knocked out and knock you out. But man, how do you have the time to do all that in a day?
What time? You just don't sleep. That's the trick, is you don't sleep.
Yeah.
I kind of got the bug when I was about 45 years old, somewhere in my mid 40s, that one of my friends reached out to me and said, "Hey, you need to get something coming in so that you're making money even when you're sleeping." And that whole concept of what kinds of systems can I put into place that would maintain themselves, instead of the old methodology, the old thinking of I show up while I'm there, I'm earning $1, that kind of concept. So instead, more package deals or products or services that are maintaining parts of themselves, where I only have to monitor a little bit. That's what we've learned about property management. We have property managers. So for even the properties that we own, the doors that we cash flow on, it's more of a check in with it periodically. It's not a constant thing. We're not getting calls to go fix a toilet, but instead, the rent checks are being paid, the mortgage is paid, and then we'll fix the roof on this property. Or next season, that property gets new asphalt paving in their parking lot. So it's those management systems that have really improved. And those lessons have all made it a lot more. So it's the organization, the getting things done, laying out my week. That's part of how I get all this stuff done. I do a lot of volunteering. I play live music for the local commerce group. I run a crew. We do live sound reinforcement for shows. I'm the president of a foundation board for our local library. So some of that's just figuring out how do you keep it going and then build others, teach other people to be doing the same thing, and they'll even share the load. So I'm not doing all of that myself. So it's a combination of time management, skill management, and then keeping my interests occupied. So I still want to be doing this stuff.
Smells like autonomy to me.
I would agree.
And, that's the misconception of autonomy, right? A lot of people, I had to look up the definition when I first heard the word, but, people might think, it's about you being greedy and like taking care of just yourself. But really everything you just said, Mark, is, you have to put out and solve so many problems constantly in order to keep everything floating and moving in the right direction, that you're constantly giving and problem solving, right?
All the time. And it's a get it done kind of concept of, I could do this, I can do this, I will do this. And it's learning that commitment. For me, part of it was learning when to say no. I would say yes too often, and the schedule's too busy and I'm not getting good things done. You know, at the same time, I'm also my wife and I are preparing our personal lives for who knows what kind of craziness is coming down the road. So I've got some projects out in the container there with solar panels for the property. And I've already broken ground on a bathroom remodel that I'm going to experiment with radiant floor heating. Each of these things I've never done before, but I look them up. I do the research. I talk to other people. I find other people in autonomy or other people outside of it and look for any information they have, maybe set up some kind of deal. Maybe I've got some skills or some project or something that they want, and I can trade for this, you know, a little bit of barter kind of thing going on that doesn't have to be reported on up. I learned about cryptocurrency thanks to Darby, one of our groups here. I've now owned I'm stacking some Satoshis. So there's a whole lot of different parts and pieces of it, but reaching out, learning how to reach out to people and build those relationships and finding out what's the win-win. Or that's one of the reasons I like real estate. What's the win-win-win? How many times can you make this something that just keeps giving back to everybody who's involved? So if you take care of yourself, you can turn around, you can take care of more people. It's just like the old adage of you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself if the plane's having problems, or you won't survive long enough to take care of those responsible for it, your kids or your spouse, your mates, your friends. So you take care of yourself so that you can now take care of others and grow a healthier community. And that's what I'm focusing on.
Exactly. And when you have a community of autonomous individuals, magic happens. With everybody trailblazing, there's now, you know, you look around and there's established trails that you don't have to blaze, that you can just hop over here. And, you know, Daryl Becker, he helped me out with setting up a automatic reoccurring, you know, just $10 a week of buying Bitcoin, and got that established. So that's just running now. And you know, 2 years from now, I'm going to be pretty happy about that, I'm sure. But, you know, you just hop down that trail and be like, oh, here's some value. Sweet. Thanks a lot. You know, do you need anything? Great. And there's just trails all around us to value.
Yeah. Ron Renaud's accountability courses were another reminder. Some things I knew, some things I didn't, to be accountable. And and then to expect the accountability of other people and work with them if they, you know, to get them to that point, or decide maybe this is not a good relationship and find a relationship that's going to help both parties even better. So it's that accountability to both sides of that.
Sweet. And you picked up on my segue. Thank you very much for that, Mark. It was great to hear from you. Feel free to jump back into the conversation. So what Mark was describing can be found, you know, when you join Autonomy, you get free access, lifetime access to all these courses that we're continuously developing. Autonomy Unlimited is brokering deals with course authors, and we're helping them produce courses. But and then the Autonomy audience then gets to participate as these courses are being made, so they get the value right from the get-go. And now we're housing all these great courses for the general public at marketplace.autonomyagora.com. You can come here and, you know, check out what courses that we have developed, and also be able to, you know, just get started somewhere, right? If you're not ready for autonomy, or, you know, whatever reason, you don't have the time, money, these are places where you can start acquiring those skills and knowledge that Mark was just describing. And one of the courses that we got were able to showcase and build for the autonomy community this last week, as well as help out an Autonomy Unlimited client and autonomy graduate, right? I think I think he nailed that out last night or yesterday. But it's Ron Renaud. Check this out.
Once that sleight of hand takes place, there's either no truth or my experience becomes equal in value to it. And we're damned, right? We've damned ourselves. We've damned everybody around us to be easily manipulatable. So there is truth. That's a good thing. Now, those of us who are going to labor to find it can hopefully now find it and live more conscious, powerful lives to create, well, again, to create more freedom. Okay, let's talk about another tool for creating that freedom that we're after, and that is integrity. Now, there's going to be many definitions of integrity I'm going to use because there's just so much really to be said about this piece. But for our purposes right now, integrity is the integration, right? Integrating of truth, capital T truth and lowercase t truth in one's life. So integrity is the integration of truth in one's life expressed through his or her thoughts, emotions, intuitions, will, and actions. Our lives are about discovering truth and expressing it. Our integrity is revealed in how we relate to reality. And it's here that we discover who we are and the quality of our will to become who we need to be, right? To be our most authentic selves and most authentically express truth in our lives. All right, let's talk about accountability. So accountability is a tool, right? A punch is just a punch. Accountability is a tool. That's all it is. It's a diagnostic. What matters is its purpose and its timely use. So true accountability creates personal liberation, the expression of our truest self through the process of self-knowledge, self-respect, and self-government. It can never be about simply taking action. Slaves, right? Slaves simply take action. We don't need your minds. We don't care about your feelings. Just handle these things, do these things, repeat this action. Free women and free men know, respect, and govern themselves. Free men and women are.
So that course was built and developed this last season. We luckily have Ron Renaud right here with us. Ron was a client of Autonomy Unlimited, and we magically, like, it was pretty beautiful how it came about. Autonomy needed some accountability material in it in order to help everyone see it to the finish line. Ron has been coaching for 20 years now, and so he knows all about accountability. We were helping him build his marketing funnel for his online presence, and a course would have been very attractive for his audience. And so we saw a win-win scenario to where we could help Ron out with his course, bring it into Autonomy, give the value of the material to the student body. Ron ended up joining Autonomy. He was so impressed with it. And so, Ron, how's your experience been while joining the community? And then what were some of the biggest challenges of putting this course together? You're muted.
Hold on. There, you can hear me now, right?
Yep.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for all that. And I'm going to say first a shout out to Wendy. I've not made a lot of the calls live. I watch them recorded because I'm an early bird. But Wendy said something on a call. Mike said something on a call. Michael Nimitz. And these are two things. I mean, Richard is, a gem, and we could go on about our man here. But just the community itself has been just gem after gem. Everybody on it is so fantastic. But Wendy, you said something about, I don't know if I was talking about writing in a journal or writing, and you were talking about writing slowly and being very deliberate. And I got to tell you, I've upped my game with my journal ever since that comment you made. It's like, I'm being very, very deliberate, and what I've done is I've tried to say, hey, I want to be the very best version of myself as a man in this way and that way and that way. Well, as you're writing about that, don't be just hasty and all over the place with it. Let that be a reflection of how you want to show up. So you gave me a gift there. And Michael Nimitz got me doing push-ups again because he took my first class on accountability. And then he started doing push-ups to move himself to be more accountable. I'm like, wait a second. I'm overdue to start doing this again. He's not going to outdo me. So I've been doing push-ups since then. And so it goes to what Mark was saying a little bit earlier is, you surround yourself around excellent people. And, next thing you know, you just start lifting each other up. And that is probably the greatest takeaway And there's been occurrence after occurrence of that through listening to these classes and reaching out and seeing somebody in the dojo and be like, hey, and stopping in and shooting the breeze with somebody. Like I said, Richard's content is outstanding. We know that. There's just no, pointing you towards self-reliance, pointing you towards, information that just isn't so readily available. The context of where we find ourselves spiritually, financially, educationally, recognizing, oh, this is why we're in this position. Now it gives me all the more reason to go, wait a second, I'm not going to let these lying sons of guns dictate how I learn going forward, how I finance my life going forward. So that's all there. But then it's the people who are attracted to those messages and to recognizing that being excellent, being being autonomous rather than getting involved in the masters and slaves relationship. It's those people who really make this so valuable to take part in. So that's a little bit for me in my experience with autonomy. I've been super excited about it, and I'm actually a really good example of somebody who this can really work for the person who is not able to make it live, because like I said, I'm an early bird. I'm a 9:30. My wife's like 9:30. She's used to me now. 9:30. She's just getting fired up. I'm like 9:30. It's time for me to get cozy, baby. I'll see you in the morning. And sometimes I've woken up at 4 in the morning going, I just missed the end. Richard probably just got done talking right now. So I get to watch the recording when it works for me and still be a full participant with everybody else and reach out. And it worked just wonderfully. So, that wasn't an obstacle at all, being able to make the classes live. And then as far as the accountability class, look, as a client of Autonomy Unlimited, it became a great opportunity, right? You're ready to do this, Ron. We need this. This is good, win-win. You've got an audience now. Great that you're part of our autonomy community. Dive in with 2 feet. And so it was great to be able to provide something to a group of people who wanted it. And I got wonderful feedback and, encouragement, because my deal is I've been coaching for 25 years. I've been teaching coaches all over the world for 20, and they've not been in the freedom community. It's like the rare thing to find someone who, I was catching flack years ago talking about slavery, and they're like, how dare you? You're white. You can't talk about slavery. I'm saying, well, yeah, but the income tax means that somebody else owns my labor before me. And they're like, you're like blacks. You're like, holy cow, talk about anti-intellectual, and you can't even have the conversation. So for me to be able to take these skills that I've learned to help people live really well and then bring them to my people has been an absolute gift. In fact, I'll just say this last little bit in completion, I believe, of your last question. After my first, so the accountability program is really four parts. There's 2 additional parts, but that's really more working the vision. And there's sort of a spin-off of it. You can look at it as 6-part, but the main thrust of it was 4 parts. After part 1, 2 or 3 people said how awesome it was that I was bringing in Woodrow Wilson and World War I and, Adam Weishaupt, and it's all these things. And because it all starts to tie into the context of what we're doing in our lives. And now everybody knows, like, oh, Ron gets it. Ron gets the context I'm living in. I'm the guy at the party who has to stand in the corner waiting for one other person to realize that, it's not the Republicans or the Democrats this year or the liberals, wherever you are in the world, that are going to save the day. It's autonomous, self-reliant, self-governing individuals. And so, yeah, for me to be able to deliver this has been a gift. And I know, I've done the best I can to be a gift to others by bringing my material to them. And so, like you said, win-win all the way around. So it's been a pleasure to be part of it. I know we have a couple more bonus classes or one more and a Q&A to come. So, I feel like I'm the great beneficiary of of being part of this community.
Yeah, the fun's not over yet. And, when we were tossing around the course idea, I was thinking, okay, yeah, maybe, an hour long, presentation on what it means to be held accountable. And you brought it, man. It's probably probably about 6 hours with the Q&A at least of you bringing material and doing integration exercises, having breakout rooms with people. It was really a masterful piece of knowledge that you were able to share with the community.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, they kept getting longer. I mean, is that Rich or is that somebody cloning as Rich on the call? But I went Rich.
That's
Is it
me.
Rich? All right.
That's
So I
me.
went. I got all Richard Grove. It was like, he was like, it'll be an hour and a half, couple hours plus Q&A, and I was like, holy cow, well, maybe. And every call got a little bit longer, and I think my longest was three and a half hours.
Ron said he didn't have time. I said, look, bro, it's just an hour call plus some Q&A every week. And after a series of weeks, like 6, you have your whole course and it's evergreen. And you know, you did it. You once you accepted the challenge, you went so far beyond what I thought you were going to do. I was like, he can't stop. He can't stop. Let's see where it goes. You were Tony Myersing it. You were doing like what he did in the Trivium and Logic courses. Like he just kept going and going like the Energizer Bunny. So you guys have a ton of value, and I'm thrilled to see you getting it. And like, you know, you've got a well, you've got the bucket, you got the winder thing, the crank to bring it up to people, and you got the ladle and the cup. You got the whole setup, dude.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Getting refreshed in the desert is the point.
Well, I'll tell you, and I really appreciate the acknowledgement and the shout out like that. It means a lot, truly. And not stand in it and let it land as thoroughly as I might. But I want to point again to what Mark said and what I just said a moment ago. It's that I trust you. I like you. You held a high bar. And because of that, it was like, son of a gun. I'm not going to even mess with like doing 90%. I'm blowing way past the expectation. If we're doing this, we're doing this. And to me, that's what happens when you hang out with excellent people. There's a great line from an Emerson essay, and I'm not going to recall it precisely, but it's something along the lines of, you've got to keep growing. You've got to keep becoming more, because if you don't, those people around you are going to be conquering new lands, learning new things, and laying new claims on your heart. And if you dawdle and mess around, there's going to be no way to connect with them. And so for me, I absolutely took up the challenge you laid down. Why? Because I want to be part of this excellent community. And I don't want Mark or Elle or Jerry looking back on, well, Ron's a nice guy, but he called it in, he phoned it in, and that means something. And I don't want to live like that. And I'll just throw a little thing over there. On the other side of doing excellent work, it feels really good. And so it's nice to be well ensconced in an excellent community. And, I aim to keep up the good work, so I'll continue to earn my spot amongst such fine people.
Well, you keep bringing those 50-cent words like ensconced to conversations like this. You can't imagine where you're going to be in a year from now.
Look out. I might bring alacrity with this next conversation or the next comment. So anyway.
Hey, and we'll see you next week in New Hampshire at the Porcupine Freedom Festival, right?
100%. I'm looking forward to it. I think, aren't you doing something live there while you guys are there?
Yeah, you're talking.
As it turns out.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. We get Ron Renaud exposed to the Pork Fest.
We're going to have some fun. Yeah, just in case anybody's watching who might be there, what I've done in the past and what I'd love to do is just talk for 15 minutes about some personal growth concept, something going on and how we can better ourselves and kind of the journey we're all on. And then talk about do it live. We'll do some coaching. And the truth is, I don't care whether you eat too much, drink too much, talk too much, you sleep too much, a little too much YouTube, whatever your thing is, or, there's a goal that you've got and you've done this and you've done that. And we're all striving and climbing. And so we can all relate to each other's struggles and challenges and, accomplishments. And so what happens, I get somebody in the hot seat, we do a little coaching, relate to the rest of the folks out there. So we go on a journey together and we all walk away after the conversation a little better than we got there. So I appreciate the opportunity to do some good in Lancaster.
I'm sure that's going to take a little bit more than 15 minutes, but we got you down as a speaker. So for the
well, it's 15 minutes in the hot seat. I don't usually leave somebody too much longer than that in the hot seat. So
yeah. Well,
but then he's doing workouts with people. He's doing it live, so he'll be handling, questions on stage going live. All right, you got promo there.
So speaking of Pork Fest, a week from now, I'm going to be hopping on a plane. Several autonomy students are going to be all heading to Lancaster, New Hampshire. This is a quick clip from last year, and this year is going to be even better. So we have the Autonomy Cafe that we're going to be recreating this year, and we booked these spots back behind on the other side of this street right here. We have 4 big plots. So we're going to have the cafe, we're going to have a speaker pavilion back here, we're going to have a hangout lounge back behind the cafe this time, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I get to collect my hug from Ron because I knew when I started working with that guy, I'm like, dude, you're so awesome. I can't wait to give you a hug in real life. And Ron has a property nearby, so he's definitely going to be there.
Amen. It's going to be great to be there. And yeah, absolutely. I got a big hug waiting for you. I'm going to see if I can sneak attack you.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, continuing on with courses that we helped develop this last season, Daryl Becker joined us for a course called Mental Emotional Kung Fu. And here's a quick little clip from that.
For all of you folks who got to hear about the concept of nonviolent communication made by Marshall Rosenberg, that was sometime back in basically the late 70s. He was a student of Carl Rogers, and he put together a little bit of what you're seeing here, but this is my own version of changing it. So going through the quadrants of, you can see like the stuff here on the greenish left side of the screen, that is very much all just the tangible side. Those are observations and actions, and they are tangible. They're things that can be recorded with a video recording, audio recording, things that can be written down as tangible ideas, basically. More solid things that are all in the orange and red over there on the right side. Those are abstract. So I'm going to be going through these quadrants with you guys. But first, I'm going to go back in time. This is, unfortunately, this is how nonviolent communication is frequently taught to people. So people just get these, you're starting with observations. Usually, this is the way I started to learn it. And these are the facts. These are like what a video camera would take in. Then you identify the emotions. Then from there, you identify your needs. And those are sometimes called values. I like to call them values for a good reason that I'll explore. And then you move on to making requests, which honestly is just taking action. So this is the way a lot of people learn it. And they especially learn it with these terms, needs and requests, which is problematic, as I think you're gonna get to see soon enough. But that's not the way I do it at all. I start off by just identifying the observations. I move to identifying the feelings, and I give you 4 of them. And we're gonna take our time to go through each of these 4 quadrants. Then I identify the values. I identify 7 of them just to make it nice and simple, because there's actually a really fat list of all of these many, many values that are out there. Kind of like there's a fat list of many, many types of nuanced feelings. But the problem with that is, well, many things. There are too many things to remember. There's too many components. So this lesson is supposed to be somewhere in the 30, 40-minute range. And what I see when I tried to teach it more traditionally by like giving people lots of leeway to have lots of feeling names and lots of value names, is that people would just struggle. They'd look at a big list of names and they would never get anywhere.
Daryl Becker. I saw that list. I got that list. So lo and behold,
list.
We have Daryl Becker in the house. Fancy how we got that going for us. Nice. Hey, Daryl, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for getting me in here on the call.
Excellent. So we're recapping, the season finale of season 7, Autonomy, and Daryl Becker. Let's see. I was in Hawaii, 6 months ago. Had the pleasure of meeting Daryl Becker in the flesh at his home in Hawaii, and I remember at that waterfall, right? And I was basically pitching you a course, huh? I was like, dude, you need to really create a course.
Yeah. And thank you so much for that opportunity.
Yeah.
That was great. It was really exciting. It got to that point where we're just talking business way too much for your wife's taste, because we're surrounded by this nature and beauty that you know, when you live here, you kind of get a little bit jaded too, because you're like, oh yeah, another waterfall, another beautiful day, you know.
Tropical
But
paradise.
because
Yep.
it's summer all the time. But yeah, then we started talking about, hey, I'm going to put this together because there's the mental and emotional skill sets to create, essentially just use your own and anyone's motives to optimize personal and professional situations. That's the gist of what I got, or basically to learn to use critical thinking and nonviolent communication to get faster agreements in your personal and professional life. And that's the course that I tried to put together. I put together, it's wrapped, and season 1 is all done. I get to go do the work to go back over it now. You know?
And Daryl, you get credit for putting nonviolent communication on my map in the first place. I want to say, you know, probably 2012, 2013, with your work with Tragedy and Hope. And I think it was, a presentation you did. I forget which series it was, History So It Doesn't Repeat or something like that, where you were on Richard's production, right?
Yeah, that was one that he called History Connected.
History
and it was
Connect.
kind of like going right next to and adjacent to History So It Doesn't Repeat. You know, there was so many brandings that Rich went through at that time period, and it was great to be part of that, like just to put together some ideas. And that was my first presentation, like out there with Rich. It's been a lot of fun to collaborate since then.
Well, it was really powerful, and I immediately saw a lot of value inside of it. And later, like the following week, I ended up going to my local co-op, and there was a local NVC trainer putting on workshops. And so I blew him up and was able to strike up a relationship with him, and learned a lot from that. Was able to start integrating nonviolent communication in my life. It was super clunky at first, and once you start letting go of that, you know, that robotic framework that it shows you, and you start being able to, you know, talk more human in your relationships, it does have a lot of benefit to it. So for you to take that and, you know, what 10 years later, be able to, you know, add and refine, simplify, and be able to, you know, give people tangible tools so that when you're in a heated moment, you know, our brain shuts off. We're getting very reactive. You know, I'm in a relationship, you know, and we have a child. So this is a constant ongoing practice for me, but being able to, you know, not take the bait, jump into an argument and allow that thing to just spiral out of control, but use a framework and use a tool set so that you can be heard, understand the other person, work towards a resolution. It's beautiful to see what you're refining with your mental emotional kung fu series.
Thank you for that. And I just want to emphasize the way I was dishing this out was that it starts as an inside job, just like 9/11. This is an inside job just to go in your head and balance each of these quadrants out, to know a few other components that are all balanced out. Now you're standing upright. Now you're solid. Now you can offer a helping hand up to someone else who's emotionally off balance. They knock themselves down on the ground because they're in their own trip like that. You have an opportunity to make an offer like that, but you can't help someone up if you're also on the ground, emotionally speaking, as a metaphor like that. If you're knocked down, how are you going to help someone else up? So it starts with an inside job like that to figure out the balance. And then from there, now you have it all open. So now you can then just keep in mind, like, what do you want to have happen with whoever is across from you, your counterpart? How do you want to have a blue sky situation go? And it was really great to dish this out, like lesson by lesson, five lessons like that. And then in the Q&A afterwards to see how do people actually put it into their own practice. We got Jerry here in the call. He got to put some of it into practice. I'd be kind of curious, Jerry, if you'd be cool to unmute and give a version for how did you use this stuff? How did it work for you so far?
Well, the way I've used it is I'm very aware of my speech, I guess, because, you know, people say that I talk aggressive. So I'm not doing that. I'm being, you know, peaceful and polite and staying away from the aggressiveness. And so that's just a simple example of how your course helped me out.
Thank you for that. That's a good one. I'll tell you that a bunch of years, this is like a good solid 10 years of delivering this information and studying it and refining it. And I still find like, where did I last lose my cool? Talking to my dad. It's a lot easier this time around, but like in this instance, I'm going to visit him in just a couple weeks. I'm going to be, over there in New York, and he was really concerned because I haven't been vaccinated, and he wanted to find out if I would just go ahead and take a COVID test, and that'll be like, then that's good for us to hang out and meet in person. And yeah, I was starting to feel the real frustration and anger surfacing up and getting agitated because I started going to my head like, I know better than this. I'm the medical professional of 24 plus years at this point, and he has no medical training at all. And in no way does he actually consider asking like, well, what research in virology did you do, Daryl, to make your decisions? No, there's no curiosity like on that. So I'm going into my own little spiral. Took about 2.5 minutes, but it certainly felt like 15, where it was going agitated until I got back on track with the first thing in lesson 1 of mental emotional kung fu. What are my objectives with this person? And then from there, what are the actions I can take to achieve my objectives? And then what are the resources I need to effectively make those actions create my objectives? That's OAR, objectives, actions, resources. And I was like, okay, I want a harmonious discussion with my dad, because that's what we're doing on the phone. Just the same thing as what I'm going to do in person. I need to have that happen here on the phone. And to do that, I'm going to need to find, my action I chose was common ground. I just chose to say, Dad, this seems really unproductive for us to discuss this topic. Could we I'm sure we have something that we agree on, that we have common ground. We've got so much we agree on. Could we switch to talking about that? And that was my choice of action. And then of course I had the resources of a bunch of time and a bunch of patience to just apply to just continuing the discussion for about an hour. So everything all smoothed out, even though I give myself pretty low marks for that first part where it was getting all tense. And I was saying things that could be interpreted as a derogatory diagnosis of him. I didn't call him names, but I said that, a lot of people, maybe perhaps you might consider this stuff being very religious. Like you've got to believe a thing instead of finding out if evidence would show that your conclusions are not in alignment with reality. And that's just going to go right over this 84-year-old man's head who just really needs to strongly believe his thing, because he builds self-esteem on believing he's right. Those are the two things right there. And that's a common thing right there. Look, the love of being certain of your conclusions. So just this is a little humbling story. Pushing against what someone believes is potentially going to push against what they base their self-esteem on. If their pyramid of self-actualization and enlightenment is built upon a base of being certain on things and having the right answers to things, then anything that's contrary to that is going to be like you're basically poking splinters into them like that. And this is like a learning lesson that I keep having to remind myself whenever I lose patience with someone. I hope that was useful. Do you ever go through something like that, Joshua?
Oh, on a daily basis. Typically,
oh no.
Well, typically I can, keep an eye out for my mood. And if I see my mood shift, then I got to backtrack and see what happened, how I got into that corner. And then, using these tools to be able to do that inner work to figure out, there was like a miscommunication that happened this morning over breakfast. It seemed a small thing, but it created a trajectory that by the afternoon I was way over here and like frustrated. and didn't vocalize, what was going on. So it's constant work, man. Like, even, when you're happy, then, or when you're joyful and you're in a good state, you're going to run into people that are dealing with their own stuff. So, throw in a 4-year-old into that mix, and it's a wild ride.
It is. And that's when it really counts. Because the people that you know are not disposable in your life, this is when the skills really, really count. Because I think in treating your clients like as if they're disposable too, I think that's a missed opportunity. So that's why I was trying to put that in here. I was trying to integrate into the course where I was saying, it's, of course, I understand it's extremely important to use this in your personal life, obviously. And a lot of people's personal experiences that they brought up in the Q&A were, a lot more like friends and family kind of stuff, and a lot less in terms of like applying like the way I do to clients like that, like frequently. Like I have to like be Mr. Total Cool Cucumber Balanced in order to handle whatever's coming at me from a client so that I'm able to optimize the situation. Otherwise, I'm just another out of control hothead, which is how I started. Because in case you can't tell, this is a New York accent, upstate New York. And that type of East Coast intensity really rubs people the wrong way frequently, especially if you're from the left coast or from some place that's a lot slower, Midwest or whatever like that. It's a thing where we just want to like say, oh, you got a problem? Well, I'm here to fix it. And, like that. And there's two things just to keep in mind when people are talking. Is it a fix it moment or is it a got it moment? And if you can identify what the person wants, whether one of those two, do whatever they want first is my suggestion for balance. I think part of this whole call is going to be me excitedly giving you little nuggets like that. Like, just remember, like, to maintain the harmony, you might want to understand that it is a got it moment for a lot of people. They don't want your solutions, maybe, unless they ask for it specifically like that. So I was giving long distance acupuncture advice for someone this morning, and they were asking for it like that. So I got to deliver that. But sometimes that advice that what I'm getting from people, especially in my personal life, is they just want to know that I hear them and that I got it. Does that show up in your life too, Joshua?
Well, yeah, it's part of being alive on this planet, I think.
Yeah, like, I mean, like people in your personal life, probably also professional, where they just want to have like you reiterate or mirror back to them what they gave you instead of jumping right to the solution.
I have a constant test with my wife, and I've learned this to where, all day long, I problem solve and help small businesses and people with their projects. And then I'll come in for lunch and my wife comes in, she's like, customer support, like this thing with my business. And I was like, oh, you try this? Have you ever heard of this tool before? And she's like, I don't care. Like, what are you doing? Like, and all she wanted to do was be heard, and for me to reflect back that I heard her frustration, and for me to jump right into problem solving and strategy. It just creates a huge disconnect. So it's a constant thing that I have to be aware of, test out. It's in this world of voluntary action. Ask, are you looking for help with this solution? That will start the conversation off and save me a lot of grief, save her a lot of frustration, and we'll be able to end up at being in a lot better area. So Daryl, you're going to be putting this up on the Autonomy Agora marketplace soon. So that will be available for the general public to be able to access and gain this knowledge. And then do I have it right? You're going to come back next season and refine this course and process and teach it over again?
Yeah, and probably be adding things that are very compatible to what's going on. I got to see that folks are, I guess maybe that's you, Ron, teaching accountability. Is that true? Yeah. So that's I definitely had a component of accountability process that I was planning to add into this kind of thing. though nothing like nearly like the in-depth course that you've got, Ron. But that's my plan, is to just take these small components, keep refining how I deliver them, keep trying to make it clear and yet not too complicated, and then add a few more bonuses. So yeah,
Sweet.
thank you so much for everything you've done for me, Joshua. This has been great.
Well, I gained a lot of value from, what you shared 10 years ago, and I was trying to give you the support and encouragement to be able to teach what you know and everything you've learned since then again, and you knocked it out of the park, man.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us. That was a real treat. I'm going to carry on with some of the other courses that we have helped build this last season. We've still got a lot to go. So this is Melissa Miles, Introduction to Permaculture. What she put together was a great intro to understanding the philosophy and application of permaculture.
So this is a sort of meme kind of a slide that illustrates how it started with lawns and how it's going. So if you see each and every one of these, the slide's kind of dark, but has a little postage stamp size lawn. And lawns are pervasive in the United States particularly, but they're really just nothing more than an ecosystem that is being kept in a perpetually immature state, maintaining it in an arrested development. And that's why they require so much energy and input. If you think about a small baby versus an older child, how much care you have to give a small baby. It's like 24/7, whereas an older child has a little bit of autonomy, can kind of make it in the world by itself a little bit more. So we're constantly fighting nature's desire to go, the trend to go back to this forest or whatever the climax community was in that particular area when we try to put in lawns everywhere. So originally these were a symbol of wealth and status. You can see this is a Palace of Versailles, and this is some suburban micro lawn hell. And people wanted to emulate the royalty, particularly in the late 1800s, industrialists in the UK really wanted that status to show how much wealth and how they can just waste land maintaining it as a lawn. They didn't need to grow their food there. They had made it. So lawns did pretty well in the UK just because of the climate and the types of grasses there. They were easier to maintain. But in the US, when people started clamoring for the same thing, they wanted to emulate the wealthy industrialists, they had a difficult time doing that because the climate varies so much in the United States in different regions, and we don't have the same climate as the UK in most places. Also, the types of grasses that are native in the US don't do well as lawns. So in came the government to save the day. So a weird quasi-governmental project was formed between the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, and the US Golf Association, of all things. And they sent scientists around the world to explore the globe for grasses that could be managed as lawn in the US. So that project started in 1910 and lasted about 10 years. And once they came back, they found these grasses, they learned more about them, how to manage them here, kind of the dawn of the widespread lawn in the US. And it's sort of become the landscape that dots most of suburbia in the United States.
Melissa is a storehouse of information, and when you start listening to what she's talking about and like the philosophy behind kind of permaculture and gardening, you see the world differently. I go out onto my property, and after hearing, where where edges are, you know, where my tree line and where the grass come into contact with another. Like, it really changes the way that you see the world. Just understanding, you know, the history of grass. There's a lot to it, and you know, there's a lot of wasted energy and, you know, minimal production that's not taking place. That people are not building gardens. So she created it's a light intro to permaculture, and she did a really good job, I thought, and jammed the course full of like 70, you know, resources, PDFs, and, you know, maps and schedules of when to plant. It really is a very powerful course to be able to participate in. Did anybody on the call take the course with Melissa? I know the Q&As got really wild. Mark, you want to give us a little feedback on how was it for you?
Yeah, it's permaculture is to me, it boils down to common sense in many things, and the practicality and thriftiness of using what you've got. Melissa just had this huge resources to tap. She just knew so much. It was at her fingers, like Richard. You know, it's just this so many resources, so many possibilities. You'd ask almost anything, and she'd either have an answer or know someone to talk to, or talk about studies that had happened, or talked about these. You know, her schooling came through as well, along with the you know, here a little bits of her ideology. You could feel that too, you know, and where she was coming from and how she was seeing things. So as we brought challenges to her, she was able to a number of us just provide, well, have you thought about this, or try that, or this kind of a situation, or why are you doing that? So it was a very common sense kind of thing of it's a lot like the Roman trivium. Or what you were talking about earlier. And in fact, what Daryl was just covering, observe. That's the first thing. See what you got. You know, and that's one of the first things to do in permaculture is just watch, measure, see what's going on, see how things react, see what species you have showing up, what insects are going, and then eventually working with what you've got, not forcing lawns or some alien situation landscape on it. So she was very competent at being able to respond quickly, provide answers, and it was just so much information. She's very encouraging for me, as I said, to hand it off to my garden club. Their eyes kind of lit up. Oh, you're going to talk about permaculture? Great. So I'll be there this August, giving probably about a 20 to 30 minute lecture, and I'll be cribbing heavily from what Melissa presented. It's very well organized, very well presented, many resources to go back into.
Excellent. And there's even some red pills in the Q&A. We talked about World Economic Forum and, you know, how centralized control doesn't match up to permaculture, right? You get to see, you know, what systems are stronger, more resilient. It was, yeah, really great to have her. I know she has bigger plans of creating the next course that she'll be able to offer certificates. So you can work with her and her team to create a live project with your property, and then get certified from that. So this was an excellent introduction into the permaculture information and, you know, lifestyle. And like you said, yeah, it's just common sense. And so, and man, it really is amazing. The more you listen to the course and then look at your property, look at, you know, parks, and look at the landscapes around you, there's so much information there, so much going on that I wasn't aware of. All right, well, we have one more. Yep. One more course. So can you imagine this, right? You're trying to take, 13-week course by Richard Grove, and then all these other courses are going on alongside you. We try to put the blinders on. We try not to distract you too much from the main curriculum, but there's just so much, you know, happening. There's so much knowledge that's being captured, and this is from the Grand Theft World environment, because we really didn't want to distract the autonomy graduates, our students, this season with this, but it's now going to be living, and everybody's going to be able to get access to it. So Tony Myers taught a logic course, and man, it is huge. he ended up, just going to be four lessons, 4 weeks long. I think it went 6 weeks, maybe 7. And the lectures ended up being like 5 hours. But what's so cool about it was he went through examples of fallacies and took actual clips from Grand Theft World that he's a co-host on, real world current events, and being able to point these things out in real time for you to be able to understand, what the media does, what the world does, how manipulation takes place.
But that's not formally a direct causation. You can't infer a direct causation from those correlations. Why?
Here's an example.
Well, because there's other reasons. There are other potential reasons that you could submit as pieces of evidence for why it might not be that way. I mentioned the street is dark, could be overcast, could be a thunderstorm, could be a canopy of trees on that street that blocks out the sunlight. And maybe the sun then goes behind a series of clouds. So the sun goes behind a series of clouds and there's a canopy of trees. Yeah, it's going to be dark. There are other reasons for why it might be dark. It doesn't follow that the cause of earning a lot of money is based on selfishness. It could just be success. It could be that you had a unique solution. If anything, you could be someone that made a lot of money and gave a lot back. It could be the opposite. So although, there's a correlation with the idea of potentially of selfishness, it's not necessarily, selfishness is not the cause for why people sometimes earn a lot of money. You can, in other words, when you present a way to fix this, and a way to fix a lot of these fallacies I've been presenting tonight, is find an alternative or piece of evidence that you could submit for why something is so, that changes the situation, that provides more context. That's why I mentioned earlier, knowledge is contextual, is based on all the available data that is available to you in that moment. And when new data comes in, you can change your conclusions. That would be logical. What is the difference between ignoratio elenchi and oops, I forgot to change that. What's the difference between false cause and non sequiturs? What it should say. You confuse correlation to do with your premise to do with the. Let's listen a little miss pretty here.
Why is gas so expensive, and why is the United States inflation rate at a 4-time decade high? I had the opportunity to ask the White House why gas down the street is $7, and here's what they said. The obvious reason: we're getting out of a 2-year pandemic. When use goes up, price goes up.
When use goes up, price goes up. So is there any evidence that we could submit to her to say, well, or to the government for that matter, because she took all our information from the government, who briefed them, obviously, the White House, that could show, well, use goes up, price goes up. Well, use was much higher pre-COVID-19. Yes, we're coming out of a pandemic, but we're not at pre-COVID-19 levels of use. So although you could argue correlation, there's no causal factor there, because you can present other evidence that shows otherwise. You could also show the fact that why is price so high? We'll get into this. She's going to get into the Russian sanctions in a second. Yeah, Carrie, she's lucky that she is pretty. Yeah, she's beautiful, but she is very fake beautiful. Because I had to find this video on her. I don't go to TikTok.
So if you don't know Tony Myers, he's very thorough. And so there's a lot of entertainment value in him going through those real world current event examples to be able to understand, what do fallacies look like? I have a list of fallacies on my wall right here, but it's really helpful to have the kind of real world examples. So Tony Myers logic course.
If you go to class chat right now, you can see Tony Myers in 2011, young Tony. I promised it last night in Q&A. I dropped it in the chat today. Young Tony talking about the trivium. That's his first official video. It was filmed in my living room. That's the same living room that Gatto was in shortly thereafter. After we shot the footage with Gatto, like, he was still there and we used the same setup and he asked me questions for like 5 hours. We've never released that footage. It was poorly lit. We had some technical issues. It was never edited, but it's sitting in some files upstairs.
Well, 10 minutes ago, I asked if Tony wanted to hop on and talk about his course, and he didn't get back to me. So now that's what we get in his stead. Well, awesome. So Tony Myers logic course, we're close to having that up into the Autonomy Agora marketplace as well. So you'll soon be able to, by the time you watch this replay, should be able to access it there. Huge amount of knowledge that Tony was able to capture. He's building out his Trivium Method series. So he's done intro, he's done I want to say grammar, and now logic, and then I think he's going to be working on like a rhetoric series next. So really, you know, I came across the Trivium Method, I want to say 2013, and it was difficult to grab pieces of information on the internet and stuff it in my brain for me to be able to conceptualize what the heck it was. Richard did a fantastic job of being able to summarize and condense that information to give me a starting point.
The occulted keys of learning. It's like how to learn anything. I forgot the title, but that's a comprehensive rundown on how to use the Trivium. It's a good primer. It's a good starter. We should actually use it. It's called How to Free Your Mind, because I wrote it for the Free Your Mind conference that Mark Passio was doing. So that'd be a good lead magnet. Actually, we should like use that for something.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to chip in on that. I gave that to one of my friends yesterday. Don't be surprised if he's in season 8.
Nice.
Yeah,
Don't
no,
be surprised if you
I
get a
use
commission
that.
check.
I give that out to a lot of people when they're not familiar with your work or not familiar with the autonomy. That's the first thing I give out. And yeah, I mean, I get great reception
and
on
that's
that.
the best way to share. I mean, I set it up so that people like who already listen to my work, they already listen, they already share. And if you have your affiliate link, now you get paid for the referral, because I'd rather pay Danny Lilly than Mark Zuckerberg. Good to see you, Danny.
Hey, it's good to be here.
All right, time is zipping on by. Good to see you too, Danny. I got to see Danny in the real at Exit and Build a couple weeks ago down in Texas. Yeah, Danny, what was your biggest takeaway from that convention?
The keyword confirmation. I'm involved in 2 development deals right now, and just what John put together really helped cement what I'm putting together. So just over the last couple of days, I did get a preliminary approval from the county supervisors about my development. They greenlighted it. So I'm working on a 170-acre, it's a sustainable community. So they greenlighted it. They gave me the process on what the next 4 months of due diligence is going to look like. So we're cooking with gas now. So that's the main reason I won't be at Pork Fest next week. Is
got work to do.
Yeah, I got some real work to do. It's going to be time consuming or time intensive, but I'm actually going to rig what my processes are so I can teach a course on this in season 8. I think a lot of people will get a lot of value out of this, especially in light of what that Exit and Build workshop presented to people. Is when you're in the bigger types of deals, how do you structure them? I'm looking to reach out to John and Rebecca to gauge their involvement in partnering up, because there was a lot of great people there that were looking to put these kind of communities together. So let's get her done.
And Danny, when let John Bush know that you're an autonomy graduate, and you'll catch his attention.
Yeah, that was brought up in the actual 2-day workshop. So they were very pleased with that, and there was a lot of other dialogue in terms of collaboration. So there was a lot of people that they didn't have the money. John really put it out there. It's not about the money; it's the conceptualization and taking action. That's what I harped to my crew. We're always struggling to get some of the finances, that side of it, going, but when people see that you're actually working, that you're operating in faith, and that you're taking action, then that attracts investors that because they're looking for stuff to invest in. So when you set things up correctly, good things happen.
Awesome. And Danny, if somebody was on the fence about joining season 8 of Autonomy, what would you tell them?
Stop stalling. Just get involved. I'm actually recruiting 3 people now because, especially in my own team. So they ask me all the time, where am I learning some of these concepts that I'm applying to my daily activities. It's like, here's where it stems from. I encourage them to go because they become part of a community that gets it. They apply it, they learn it, and sometimes that's hard to find outside of the business realm. And so you get community, you get the opportunity of free expression and presenting your own ideas. But the most important thing you get from this is the processes to take action, do it effectively, do it efficiently. And sometimes that scares the hell out of people because they're like, where the hell did you get this from? Well, here, read this thing from Richard about the keys of unlocking your mind. and you know, they either see it for what it really is or they don't. And I'm at a point in my life, you know, being involved with autonomy for almost going on 2 years now. I use it as a filter on who I'm hanging out with. There's a lot of people I've just stopped associating with. It's nothing personal. It's just, we have that same 168 hours, just like everybody else. I'd rather use that time around people that they have the same common goals, interests, and the mentality versus what else is out there. So no, I've really had to really change who I hung out with, and I'm a better person for it.
And I'm very proud to know you, Danny, and it's great.
Oh, thank you.
We've seen each other in person a couple times now, and yeah, I look forward to the next time we get to hang out.
Yeah, no, same here. I look forward to it. Thank you, Joshua.
All right, buddy. Well, I have one more clip to show off, and this was, you know, a special guest that we got to have into just last week, 2 weeks ago, into Autonomy, where Richard had the pleasure of interviewing Tom Woods. There's lots of backstory behind this. We have an Autonomy graduate, Stephanie. She is now our media relations in Autonomy Unlimited, and she is setting up interviews for Richard and several other clients. And so she's the one, you know, trying to get in Tom Woods's attention. Tom Woods is a large podcaster. She finally did it. She got a response. She got him on the schedule, and we were able to have Tom Woods for about 90 minutes, and the community got to ask questions and get feedback from him. But here's a quick little clip of that interview.
So you got free PDFs, free podcast, free email newsletter, and free offers, because you know it's a numbers game. So what's a good week for you? If you make an offer and you got to click open rate, you got to click through rate, you got to purchase rate, what kind of numbers? Because I always teach the students, you need to be able to take no more often. You need to hear the word no, you know, to the point where you're hearing it 950 times, but you made 50 sales, because not everyone's going to like your offer, but that small percentage, if you're consistent, can really amount to a lot. So what the kind of numbers are important or impressive to you?
Well, okay. First of all, let me tell you something, Richard.
Yeah.
I'm not, I mean, as much as I've learned an awful lot and I feel like I'm kind of good at this, I'm not, you know, beyond question. I'm not somebody who can't, you know, who can't be criticized or whatever. And so I'm happy. Well, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit, but happy to be vulnerable enough to tell you that I don't really monitor the analytics the way I should. I should be able to answer your question. In terms of open rates and stuff, you know, my mentor, Ben Settle, is not so keen on open rates per se, because his point is, if you get a lot of opens, but nobody buys anything, you can't sit at your dinner table and say, well, we got a big open rate today. You know, like, it's sales that matter. It's sales. But on the other hand, I'm going to make more sales if more people open. It does seem like common sense to me. So I've gotten to a point where, you know, you have to recognize a couple of things. Number one, if you do a lot of marketing through a particular email address, that email address, after a while, is going to have some deliverability issues, because people are going to realize, or whatever, however email works. I don't know how it works, but it's going to turn out that your email address is not going to be considered of high quality, because people will think, oh, it's just a marketing email address. So even when I made the mistake of not having a separate business email and personal email. So sometimes I email my friends with my email address that I use for my newsletter. And once in a while, it winds up in their promotions tab. And I'm just asking if they want to have dinner. It winds up in the promotions tab. So yeah, so one thing when you're worried about open rates, bear in mind that there is a chunk, no matter what you do, that wound up in spam or the promotions tab, and that's not your fault. For the most part, that's not your fault, unless you're using extremely spammy language through the whole thing. That's not your fault.
So you get to really hear some real talk about entrepreneurship from the guest speakers that we bring into Autonomy. Richard has, a huge network of people that he has grown into having relationships over the last 2 decades. So constantly throughout the season, we're also bringing in guest speakers. And typically the audience gets to ask questions from these, big personalities that come in. And it really is a unique environment because we get to, hear real talk. They're not there putting on a show. They get to actually, tell us some good, useful information, just like what you heard from Tom Woods and his email marketing. Looking forward to PorcFest in 2 weeks or in a week and a half, because we're going to have a speaker pavilion and we're going to have speakers joining us Thursday, Friday, Saturday, live Grand Theft World on Sunday. So it's going to be great. Going to try and capture as much of it on camera as possible. But it's going to, continue to build relationships. That's what the media relation Stephanie is working on. She's going to be running the scheduling of that in-person speaker pavilion. And so it's so cool to see the skills translate from online skills, from reaching out and talking to Tom Woods, where she just reached out to Tom Woods to see if he'll speak in person for us. So that relationship continues to build for her, and we're able to then bring that into the real world. So really excited to see our continued education get into the real world. We're going to be managing an autonomy cafe. We're going to be hustling burgers and hot dogs and taking our entrepreneur skills into the real world, and it's going to be a real fun time. Wanted to open it up to anybody else on the call right now. What was your top takeaway this last season for Autonomy?
Hey, Joshua.
Hey,
sorry, I got to cut in because I got to get my son to the airport. So my key takeaway this season was relationship building. Just doesn't happen in one conversation, but inside a community of ours, it seems to happen more frequently than out in the real world. At least that's what I'm noticing. And that's very much appreciated. And also that relationship building, since it does take time, it's a commitment that we give to each and every one of the people inside the community, that we're going to be there for them. So so I just want to let anybody know that they can contact me, and I know a lot of people, and I know a lot of you guys too. And if there's anything I could ever possibly, even if you just want to talk some strange things out, I would be more than open for that. So, and then congratulations to all the students and the course producers. So that's really awesome.
Well, and Deborah, you graduated 2 seasons ago, right? 4 or 5?
4.
4.
I'm 4. Yeah,
So-
fabulous 4.
Yeah, Deborah, what keeps you coming back? Because you are, you're in live lectures still. I see you throughout the week participating. Why you keep coming back?
I know I'm serious about building this parallel world, this parallel society of real solutions. So, and I just find so many key players here. That's why I'm here. I'm here to meet them and to find them and to see if there's anything that I can do to help facilitate maybe their projects or anything like that. That's why I'm
You're
here.
doing a wonderful job. You're doing the graduation interviews for the students this year, and you're a growth strategist for small businesses and a legal strategist for small businesses. When are we going to see you encapsulating your value and creating a digital asset for yourself and your business? Can we help you with that?
I honestly thought about that, but everything I do really is so personalized to to that person and to that
Then do something
strategy.
to some people I can't tell you because it's so personalized. But we need to. I feel like we should give you something back. You keep coming into the community and giving so much value. I want to see how we can use our resources to help you in your business.
Well, believe me, I've been thinking about it. But it's
You
just
got an
so
open invitation,
personalized.
kiddo.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And then some of the things that I talk to with business owners, it's just a little bit personal, but we have to go personal to really find the best strategies for them. But I could work on finding some general topics. So.
And we can talk about creating an onboarding experience for your new clients so they can be at a certain education level before they have their first meeting with you, and that might help you out with maximizing your time and cutting out the knowledge that you need to repeat every time with a new client to get them to where they're at.
Right.
We can talk more about that.
Okay. Well, it's kind of like it would be like turning the things that you do, Richard, into like evergreen. There's so many just personal things that the magic happens in the moment when one person says something and then another person says something, and it's that the mastermind effect. So I understand what you're saying, and I do have that on my radar. But I am bringing on, and I haven't mentioned this to anybody yet, but I am doing another project, and I'm not even going to say what in the world it is. But it has to do with some key points that I really see that are needed these days. And it's all about food. It's all about real health solutions. It's all about water. It's all about electricity. And so I'm going after those specific businesses like a madwoman to help see what I can do to facilitate that in my local area. And since we have access to the world, that too. So.
Great. I look forward to seeing your presentations on that.
Thank you. Putting me on the spot here.
Well, I'll let you go, but for the people watching the replay at home, what just transpired was Deborah coming on here, sharing, her saying something nice of what she's experienced with autonomy. And then you heard, the teacher, Richard Grove, just chime in and try to help her out, right? And that's what's happening constantly is everybody's looking for ways to exchange value. Deborah said something nice. We almost went into a discovery call right there of trying to figure out what Deborah needs in order to help her out. And this is just the environment that, naturally takes place here.
And I really appreciate that. There's no other environment like this. So I appreciate every single one of you. So
Thanks, Deborah.
Thanks for your time. Bye.
Bye. All right. Anybody else on the call would like to share, what they gained from this last season of autonomy or seasons now that we have some old schoolers here?
Yeah, I could hop in.
Hi, Tars.
Hey, I just wanted to sort of mention I'm still gaining some stuff out of the lectures, and also I'm really trying to take action was sort of the theme for me of this last season. One way that I'm taking action is working on my own website that I'm launching and trying to build, my first draft of a lead magnet, working on some video editing, trying to build some content to draw people to my website. So things like that. Also participating in Do It Live. That was huge. I really liked it. I felt like I learned a lot, even just like, oh, here's how you use Zoom, which is a skill in itself. And then also helping out with the graduation interviews. So I've done 3 of those. I've got one more with Chelsea coming up, and then I'll be back from PorcFest in July. If anyone wants to do their graduation interview with me, I'd be happy to do some more. So that's been a learning experience also of just how to do a interview and get it recorded and make sure it gets to the right spot. So that's all been cool to learn, and I'm still tuning into clips. And also I liked Tom Woods's that interview, and I've been tuning into Tom Woods' other content. And in his newsletter this week, he sent out a something about this Web 3.0 conference, and I was tuning into that, and I learned something there about quiz funnels, about sort of email open rates and texting, and how those concepts can also relate to having an online business. So there's still a lot for me to learn, and taking action is really what I'm doing my second time through, so to say, of autonomy.
Excellent. So yeah, you joined in season 6, right? And caught what you could from there, but now you're really starting to take action and getting involved, right? So how much more is there to learn?
Well, learning is infinite as far as I can tell. It's just, knowing where to look. And sometimes there's, even if you've seen a lecture once or twice, that's not the same as really digging in and taking notes. So you can still gain some value from the lectures that way. And then stop into the Q&A if you do have a question related to the lecture or the integration exercise, or even just to get some life advice and rant about your job, whatever it might be. Don't monopolize the Q&A or something, but it's good. And then even now getting into some integration exercises is good. I'm gonna interview Marcin in a bit, just see what's on his mind, and it's cool to make those connections.
Right. Well, thanks for stepping up. It's been great to have the additional help with the graduation interviews. And there's so many great benefits to being in that position, right? You really get to know people, you get to create connections, you get to, expand your own network, as well as, sharpen up your interview skills. So there's so many layers to autonomy, to not just your first season, but I like to say, things are just getting started when you first graduate your first season, because now you get to take what you have learned and apply that, learn it on a deeper level, get involved, and then really reap the benefits of the community, of advanced skills that you're learning and developing. And I hope to see you again next season, Tars.
Yeah, for sure. And if nothing else, I'll be hanging out, doing some integration exercises, and checking out other offerings like Kara's copywriting course, and what else is coming up. So cool. I'll see you guys around.
Sweet. And as we've demonstrated, each season we create just as much content as I showcased here outside of the curriculum. So you have lifetime enrollment when you sign up, and the knowledge and value just keeps on coming. So there's no reason why you should wait. Anybody else have any key takeaways they want to share from this last season of autonomy, or why they keep coming back?
Josh, I got you. How you doing?
Yay, what up,
How are
Jerry?
you living? Yeah, so for me, I love that you guys play intermission clips, like David Goggins. He was one guy that really pushed me to go out for runs and, staying later at work, and then just hearing, his clip again really sunk into me. It's people, go to the interview and they bring their best self, and then weeks later, it's they've fallen back into their comfort zone, and they kind of the interview person has gone. So that I picked that up, and that's I want to bring that, and the past weeks I've been away from autonomy, but I'm I feel like the people that leave autonomy for a while and then come back, they're oh, this is the best place. So I already know I don't regret sticking to the curriculum and attending as much as I can, because I get so much value out of it. Daryl's course, can't put a price on it, and Ron's course, it's incredible because it's it's just like evergreen, I guess. Like just waking up and writing your goals for the day, and even if like I don't accomplish them, it's like, hey, like at least, you know, I I did it. Like I tried pretty much. And just I've also with the conversation skills, like the one clip that Richard or you guys played from how to conversate. I think I was too much stuck in like I was stuck in the talking aspect where I wouldn't really listen to what the person was saying. And now I'm like, oh my God, like this is great. This is fantastic. And the community is really like the icing on the cake, right? It was like a grand slam. Like, so, and like Joshua, you know, since my first Q&A, you were like, hey, how's it going? Like, tell me about you. Where are you from? And you were very inviting. And, you know, till this day, you have very great hosting skills. But yeah, I mean, I just appreciate everything you guys have done and how much value you guys bring to me. So thank you.
Jerry, your station in Japan, how has the timing of the course and the Q&As worked out for your time zone?
So the Friday night lectures are perfect for me. I'm like wide awake and I can retain a lot of you know, things you're putting out better. And on Sunday Q&As, I'm like tired. But if I sit in this chair, like, you know, I'm wide awake, you know. But if I'm like in my bed, I kind of just pass out. But that's what the replays are there for, right?
Excellent. Well, yeah, we try to create a supportive system. So no matter where you're at on the globe, you can tune in, you can still find other people in your area, in your time zones to be able to do integration exercises with and to be able to connect with. And yeah, haven't seen any like major complaints other than, yeah, I think next season we might get people in Europe time. Maybe we'll give them the previous season, Rich, so that they don't have to wait for the replay. They said even 12 hours was a long time to try and adjust. So we're constantly getting better, constantly taking suggestions, constantly improving this environment for to be able to see, you know, growth happen rapidly because people have trailblazed before you. You know, we're now 7 seasons deep in getting the technology to be most helpful, to be having a smooth experience for people, not experiencing complete overwhelm and shutdown when they join, but be able to, you know, see what's in front of them and keep taking steps and get that momentum going so that by the end of the season, Jerry, you know, you can already see like physically on you the growth that you've gone through and how comfortable you are in conversations now. And it's been really inspiring.
Arigato gozaimasu.
Anybody else want to share before we wrap this up? This has been a grand, you know, recap of what's been going on in the season, but you know, the season's not ending. Your journey's not ending. Things are about to, you know, really get happening in the real world. And then we all come back this fall for the next season to be able to take it to the next level.
I would like to share if nobody else is going to.
Hello.
Hi. I feel like I have achieved so much growth this season. Thank you to Daryl and Ron's courses. Like they have like opened up my world a lot. Like I've heard you speak of the NVC before, but I haven't really got to have time to research that. So being able to go through his course and start to realize these things, like even the way that I talk in my head sometimes, like I'm catching myself now. Like I made a little card so that I can do like the 4 quadrants, you know. and start practicing that. And Ron's accountability course too has really helped me to like focus in and hone in on like what my vision is for like different areas in my life. And that really like blew my head open. Like, thank you so much for that, Ron. Like, this is my 3rd season of Autonomy, and I felt like I was a little scared to come off mute in my 1st season. I was a few weeks late. Everything was already happening and everybody already knew each other. So I was a little timid to come off and actually say anything on camera. And now I feel like I'm at least comfortable with that. I can do that. And just everybody in the community is so great. And I actually wanted to say that I would help out with the graduation interviews, and then like 3 people already like jumped in there because like I heard Chris McMillan, I typed out a message, and then like I fell asleep that night and I didn't send it, and then the next day I was like, oh well, they got that covered already. And so but I'm looking forward to getting in and helping out more, and the growth this season has just been amazing. And thank you guys for the opportunity and talking with everybody, and congratulations to all the new graduates, and looking forward to talking with anybody I haven't got to yet. So, and seeing everybody at Pork Fest, because I found out this week I get to go. So yay!
Woo! I was just gonna ask, gonna take another big old RV up there?
No, I don't get the budget for that. Plus gas is really crazy. So yeah, I'm just gonna drive.
Yeah. That was so funny. Last year you showed up in a huge RV, never driving an RV before, and parking in some tight parking inside of a festival. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was an amazing adventure. Like so many synchronicities, and like that also inspired me. It was the other people in the community who were going to Pork Fest. Like Dana was coming from Hawaii, and then somebody joined really late and they were coming from even further away. And I was like, I'm making excuses. What's my excuse? Stop making excuses and get it done. And so that's what I did. I was like, stop making excuses, figure out a way to get it done. And then just figuring out ways. And the whole trip was like, oh, obstacle, figure out how to overcome it. Obstacle, figure out how to overcome it. And so, yeah, it was like 2 or 3 times I was just like, I should just turn around and go home. This isn't going to work out. Like the RV wasn't going to be there when I got up there. It was all kind of craziness, but it actually like, once you like step into it, the universe like tries to support you. It was like witnessing magic trying to get there. Like, okay, well, I can do this. And then something would happen and be like, oh, wow, you can do this. And, or, the thing would work out. And yeah, so it was magical. And thank you guys. I love being part of this community.
And what was it like meeting people in real life that you've been engaging with online?
That was wonderful, because then you get to get hugs, which is great. So
yeah.
But being able to talk further with people, and people I haven't even talked to, and I got to meet Carl there, and I really enjoy speaking with him.
Great. Well, I'm so excited you get to join us again this next season, or this next Pork Fest in like a week. It's coming up so quick, I can't even believe it. So we'll see you up there, Ellie.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, everybody.
I hope to see you there too. I'll be there.
You are?
Oh yeah, I got my tickets. I mean, not to Pork Fest itself, but I figured I'd buy at the door. But
oh, buddy, I got a ticket for you.
Oh, you got a ticket? Oh, thanks. That's awesome. Yeah. So I land on the 22nd late at night, and then I'll be able to drive over and experience some of the days, 23rd, 24th, 25, maybe 26, like that. That's yeah. That's
amazing.
Awesome. You're coming from Hawaii too, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. This is a long travel. It's like a whole day, with like silly flights that are cheaper.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We better get your course up online so you got something to hustle while you're there.
Yeah, I'm working on that. Like I want to make sure like I got every bit, like that's my today list thing.
Yeah.
Like every bit of the course description to be going over, and I got someone else to work on some of the thumbnails.
Great.
So all that. And yeah, when you said, Joshua, that you're going to have some speaking possibilities, I'd love to get up there and find out when that's happening. So I'm going to show up for that for sure. You know,
All right.
I got
Stephanie's still on the call, so she'll reach out to you and help out with scheduling.
Oh, thank you for that.
Yeah, if anybody, if you know of a ticket or a campsite that is available, let me know. I'm on the Telegram group, and I did put in the Autonomy Court Fest board and DM Jason Ross, who said he had 2 tickets. So.
Okay, excellent.
I have a ticket for sale too.
Boom!
Awesome. I'll DM you, Wendy.
Okay.
All right, this last week is where the magic's going to happen. I haven't been thinking about PorkFest enough, but now it's go time, and this is where everything's going to come together. Well, that's fantastic. Does anybody else have anything they want to share before we wrap this up? This has been a fabulous couple hours of reflecting back on how much we've accomplished this last season. Anybody else have anything they want to get on record?
I'd like to share something. Go ahead, Wendy.
Stephanie, then Wendy.
Okay. So I have experienced rapid growth. I went through season 6 of Autonomy, and I just kind of wanted to encapsulate it in an example today. So the growth that I've experienced has primarily been in growing my abundance mindset, and also just kind of growing, like opening up my mind to possibilities. And I originally got into this group because I was just searching for a community, and I didn't even know that this was out there. I didn't know what I needed. I didn't know that there was, autonomy and this culture of excellence out there. And it's just been everything that I needed as I was seeking community and freedom and autonomy, which, that word wasn't really even on my radar. But to kind of encapsulate it today, I was able to go through the course again this season. Sorry about that. And experience, amongst my media relations work and all the busy things of a busy life, I was able to pop into a few of the courses that we were creating this season. So I got so much value out of Daryl's course, and I was only able to make it to one lecture, but I was there for the quadrants, and it really got me thinking about conversations with family. And that ties into today, as well as the abundance mindset.
Your audio, or at least I
We
did.
lost you. I bet she had a call. All right, Stephanie, we're going to segue to Wendy, and we'll circle back and get the rest of what you were saying. Wendy?
I just wanted to say how exciting it is to connect with different little groups of people in autonomy. It's like Erica and I have really clicked with talking about, what can we do about creating a local currency, and how did that all work when there's been examples of it in history. And then Jerry and I are working together with Agnieszka on the Acapulco Cafe Rustica thing. And now I've been talking, or I went to a meeting with Rawad and some other people, and we're talking about the time banking and the gift economy. And it's just really wonderful because these are all things that I had thought about on my own before, but I couldn't see my way forward because I was on my own. And now there's this wonderful little groups of supportive people, that it really has made me, like Stephanie was saying, I just feel like there's so much more abundance, so much more possibility. I've just had a lot more ideas about doing things and wanting to write again. I haven't wanted to write in a long time. And so anyway, that was my contribution. Thank you for everything.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. In this world, it's really easy to, feel alone, especially just with the values and philosophies that we've come across to pursue our own, semblance of freedom. And it's so powerful to be able to find people that, think like you, that are, pursuing the same similar goals, share the same values, and be able to then share ideas, and yeah, get all that support you were just talking about.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Well, Stephanie's not back yet. Anybody else have anything they want to contribute?
Just wanted to put a quick plug. One of the things that I continue to do, got this inexpensive little MP3 player. So I take in a lot of the audio content and then I'll go over it again and again. Tony Meyer's logic I used with my family, and it was phenomenal. It took me a while to assimilate it, but just to listen, to be quiet. I'm hoping to grow. I spotted a bunch of fallacies, things that I didn't, or contradictions, and said, no, I did, but I kept it to myself. I let them express. I let them get it out. And then I thought about it later. And so instead of feeling attacked, I was able to work through it and see, okay, I think I know where they're coming from. I think my next stage of growth would be to take Daryl's work and then work on what are their motivations, what's in it for, how do we end up with a win-win out of this? That's my next challenge. But using a little MP3 player has been also a big boost. There's so much material here, doing things live, getting in with the integration, being able to ask questions. Richard, of the other people providing courses, is wonderful, but listening to the content again and again, for me, that's something that's necessary, to listen to the points again and again while I'm out doing yard work or getting something done elsewhere. Wonderful. So don't forget to time shift anything that you want to keep covering.
That's my jam too. I like when I'm doing weed whacking, because then I'm giving my hands and myself something to do. And it seems like I'm able to digest information a lot deeper when I'm in that situation, and like multitasking, but being productive while consuming. So I think it's a really good hack. All right, I'm gonna have to follow up with Stephanie to help capture her final thoughts. She was on a roll. Stephanie she was my guest, or I invited her to Autonomy. She lives about 5 miles away from my house. She was in child education and got out of the school system, and I was wanting to have her mentor my young daughter. And so I wanted her to have the tools inside of Autonomy and University of Reason. So I started, showing her the value inside of Autonomy. She came back to me with, she didn't have enough time in her life, and I was able to work through that excuse. And she joined, last season, and she has been on fire this whole time since joining here, to where she has a full new career helping out with media relations and getting to rub elbows with all these big names now. And it's been just awesome to see. It seems like there's nothing that she can't accomplish at this point. She has great attitude and is constantly learning new skills and delivering some decent first drafts that she's just gaining more and more skill sets. So she's trying to get back in right now. So I'm kind of stalling for her, but I've had a really good time having you all here today. It's been great to recap all this. And, this all happened within 3 months, right? Short amount of time in the grand scope of life. But as you all have your own perception and experience of, you've gone through a tremendous amount of growth in a short amount of time. And I'm sure the others in your lives notice this. This momentum that is created is just going to keep getting better and better and achieving more and more. And it's a real honor to work alongside of you, to grow alongside of you, to continue to ask questions and learn alongside of you. And I'm really excited about season 8. I think we're going to have some infrastructure improvements that is going to make the community interaction even better. So I'm excited to continue to work on that. And as we get season 8 ready to go, there's going to be a whole new wave of just, amazing people that have been attracted to what autonomy stands for, and I'm sure worth getting to know and finding your new growing your expanded network. So if you're watching this replay, your community's waiting on the other side. Go to getautonomy.info /ignite, and you'll be able to get your immediate questions answered. We're working on a FAQ to be able to add to this page, so you can hear some of the common questions that that others have asked. And the next step of this is going to an obstacle course, and so you can hear from Richard himself talk about what's inside the course, what you're going to gain from it, and be able to then talk to one of the graduates about your options about getting in. Oh, Stephanie just came in right when I was wrapping up. Stephanie, you're back. Did you want to finish your thought? We were all hanging on your last word.
Okay, I'm not sure where I got cut off, but it kind of ties
Abundance mindset was the last thing we heard.
Okay, so that and not giving up on myself are definitely themes of what I've learned in autonomy. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to join the Zoom today, but I really wanted to be a part of it. So I was working off the hotspot of a different phone, and yeah, and this might cut off too, but the abundance mindset is why I'm down here in Auburn today. I wasn't going to come because there's a lot of history with the family that we're visiting today. And I was able to go to one of Daryl's lectures, Mental Emotional Kung Fu, and I'm definitely going to go and revisit that whole content, because what I gleaned from that one lecture has really impacted my conversations with my family and my confidence, and I feel an abundance of confidence and skill in be able to navigate those conversations today. And it's going to be great, and it's worth it. So that's why I'm down here today, and that's why I'm also on the Zoom, is I didn't give up on myself, and I knew I could.
Hooray!
You're a trooper. I'm so glad we caught that. You caught the tail end of that. I'm sure we'll talk probably. We'll talk soon, Stephanie. Me and her, we all work closely together throughout the week, and she's going to Pork Fest too. So it's going to be a real pleasure to see her there as well. Everyone else going to Pork Fest, can't wait to see you in person. Everybody that's not able to make it this year, I think we are going to be doing a live stream Friday night for like a graduation party. So even though you can't make it, Daniel will be hosting a podcast Friday night to be able to join in and be able to get a look inside. So if you're watching this
before you wrap, it looks like Eric Ferland's got his hand up.
I was wondering if I was too late to chime in.
Oh, never, sir. Never. It's good to hear from you.
He's a classic example of procrastination, everybody. Like, he was sitting back. He's like, oh, it's going to end. I got to say something. Well done. No, you took action. Good job.
No, actually, I was listening in. I was away and right at my phone, because now most of you know that I have a baby now.
Woo! Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you. So
you're adulting very fast.
I'm sorry.
You're adulting very fast.
Yes. Actually, a year and a half ago, I was single without a kid, and now a year and a half later, I have a house, I have a wife, and I have 3 kids. So life goes
Family
fast.
man.
Yeah, he works quick, folks.
Yeah.
He is French.
Year and a half. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, a year and a half I was still a year and a half I was still in DC, actually, I think. So, or I just had come back from DC. Anyways, like I didn't think life would go that way, that's for sure.
Well, that's really exciting, Eric. And you're old school. You're season 1, right?
That's right.
When you came to the course, you had just like, you were supposed to move to Bermuda for a job, and it didn't work out. And you're like, well, I should take autonomy and see what happens.
Actually, I was already in autonomy before I was moving.
You're right. Well played.
But I mean, this whole Bermuda thing really messed with me, and so autonomy actually did great things for me. So that's why I wanted to chime in, because even though I didn't participate much in the actual lectures, I do participate quite a bit in the clubhouse and the chats and the pit. So I'm like the underground social media manager, I believe. But at the same time, autonomy also led me towards other groups. So I've been managing a study group in both. I started. If a lot of you are, if some of you are familiar with Alphonse Fagiolo and Crow, we started a study group for this jurisdictionary group is what it's called. We started that, and now Rose 777 of Crow is managing that group because we let that one go because it's too. I'm sorry to say it's too American centered, and for us we want something Canadian centric. So we started the Canadian one, let go of that one, and I'm running the Canadian one with Beth Martin. So if some of you know her, she has a podcast, the King Hero podcast, which is kind of cool. So we've been running with two groups with a lot of people in there, and I don't think I would have been doing that if it. I would not have been doing that if it hadn't been for autonomy. So there you go.
7 seasons later, you're still part of the underground, keeping the foundation, so the rest of the structure can continue to rise.
That's right. I work I work in the shadows. That's what I like to say.
So Clubhouse unlocks once you graduate your first season, and we speak freely in there, and the memes are the best.
That's right. And we also have the pit now. Don't forget.
And the pit.
Yeah. So that's all I want to say, that even though after 7 seasons, I'm still hovering about, and it's still bringing value. To me, the autonomy still brings a lot of value.
Excellent.
So the community is quite worth it. That's all I want to say. Thank you and great work.
Good to hear from you, Eric. And congratulations again on the kid. Hope to see him in person sometime.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm trying to get my ass to Nevada to go see Igor.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and we'll
Just
try and do a
pesky
little
border.
further. I'm sorry?
Just that pesky border.
Right. Well, it's loosening up quite a bit around here too. So
good.
And plus, we have our tools as well. So anyhow, so thank you,
Excellent.
everyone.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
Welcome.
Wherever you're watching this, go ahead and hit that like button down below and be able to continue to gain, a view of what's going on inside of autonomy through this podcast. Each season, we open it up to the whole student body, so they get an opportunity to get some podcasting skills and review the last week of their experience in the season. And then also soon there's going to be Daniel is going to be starting an off-season podcast that is going to, allow people to join and talk about what they're working on, what they're building when in between seasons. So keep on the lookout for that. And what are you waiting for? Go to getautonomy.info/ignite to join these fine people that you've been hearing from for the last couple hours. Congratulations, and we'll see you guys next season.
Thanks,
I'll see you
Joshua.
guys.
Congratulations, season 7.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
See you guys.